Secretary Cadenazzi, you say the era of complacency is over. Mr. Frankston, you say that this issue is not new. I've been on this committee since 2008. Maybe I should be ashamed of myself. How is it that China, if they had persisted in their threat to cut off exports, could have brought us to our knees? How do we get to this point, Mr. Secretary?
Senator, we're engaged in a long-term competition with our primary strategic competitor in China. They've engaged in malign adversarial efforts to manipulate markets to secure control, change supply, and to undermine our own efforts to maintain a domestic market. That's been coupled with natural economic incentives to outsource to the lowest supplier, a lowest cost provider, which China often is as a result of their lack of compliance with environmental and standard kind of work laws that we would have in the West, particularly in the States. And therefore, they've demonstrated a willingness to go ahead and create and invest these capabilities, undercutting our ability to sustain this. We've taken action in part at times, we've invested, but it's been inadequate to the scale of the threat posed by China in this time. And therefore, I think the opportunity we have before us today is to go ahead and take a demonstrated, committed effort, well-resourced and aligned across both parties with the support of this committee and the Congress to go ahead and fundamentally reshape those markets. We believe our investments and efforts at this front are
well, we have, I understand, we have no question and no choice but to go forward as quickly as we can. And I'm not pointing the finger at anybody in particular, and I think I acknowledged that I'm a bit nonplussed about this. But we've been hearing for several administrations that China is our pacing threat. And it just seems to me that collectively we should have been tackling this a long time ago.
Senator, I can't speak to the previous efforts, but it's clear that the position we're in right now is inadequate to the needs of the nation with regards to both our domestic economic performance and national security.
Okay, now you're going to be asked about this new approach. Of course, we deal with industry a lot, but the idea of equity is something that there are going to be questions about on both sides of the dais. Why is it the way to go in your judgment on this issue of critical minerals?
Senator, the issue or the opportunity that equity provides us is that it's a catalyst for private investment and a more aggressive way of reconciling what has been a failed market-based approach to address this national security need. We have invested small amounts of money. We've provided grants. We've tried to incentivize through tax incentives and things like that.
How far back did we start trying that?
How far back? Sorry, Senator?
You say we've tried other approaches.
I believe we tried consistently for the past 10 or 15 years, if you sort of read the press. I'm sure there are more significant investments that I'm not aware of, but it's pretty clear that the things that have been done have been inadequate to the scale and have not resulted in the outcomes that we've wanted. And I think that's the measure is on an outcome basis, as of last year and currently, our dependence on China for rare earths remains significantly high. And so the acquisitions in the past have not met our needs. We think that
if conflict had broken out in the last year, between the United States and China, which of course we certainly hope we can avoid by being strong enough, it would have brought us to our knees. Well, could you help us understand, do you agree with my statement there?
Senator, it's very clear that the willingness of China to turn off the spigot on rare earths last year represented a significant threat to national security and would have been debilitating to both domestic industry and to the defense industrial base.
Specifically?
I think there are many systems which are highly dependent upon rare earths and other elements which would have been struggled to get access to those outside of the National Defense Stockpile, which thankfully we have a significant amount stored away. That probably would have carried us through for a period of time. Presumably, we would have engaged in aggressive action to unlock mining both domestically and with partners to mitigate those gaps. We would have fundamentally shifted the production curve in a way that would have prevented that for the long haul. But in the short term, there definitely would have been a crunch that would have impacted our ability to produce the weapon systems we need.